You don't open Temu because you need something. You open it because your nervous system has learned that something is about to happen. A countdown. A reward. A deal that feels personal. A moment of stimulation in an otherwise quiet day. That moment is the product. The items are secondary. Temu is not an e-commerce platform in the traditional sense. It is a behavioral machine engineered to convert attention into compulsion and compulsion into spending, one micro decision at a time. The most dangerous part is how innocent it feels. $5 doesn't register as a threat. $3 feels almost free. But addiction doesn't begin with intensity. It begins with frequency. Temu doesn't ask you to make one large mistake. It trains you to make hundreds of small ones without noticing. This is how financial discipline erodes quietly, invisibly, while you believe you're being smart, frugal, even clever. The first psychological lever Temu pulls is artificial urgency. Timers count down relentlessly. Deals expire in minutes. Stock appears to disappear in real time. Your brain is not equipped to question this. It evolved in environments where urgency meant danger and delay meant death. When the clock starts ticking, the prefrontal cortex, the rational planning center of the brain, begins to shut down. Stress hormones rise. Reflection collapses. You stop asking, "Do I need this?" and start asking, "What if I miss it?" That shift is everything. Scarcity is powerful because it bypasses logic and speaks directly to survival instinct. Temu weaponizes that instinct and attaches it to objects with no real consequence. But your brain doesn't know that. All it knows is that opportunity appears to be slipping away. And when opportunity feels rare, action feels mandatory. Then comes the variable reward loop. You scroll, and you don't know what you'll see next. Maybe nothing. Maybe a better deal. Maybe something absurdly cheap that triggers a sense of disbelief. That unpredictability is critical. Predictable rewards bore the brain. Unpredictable rewards addict it. This is the same mechanism used in casinos, social media feeds, and mobile games. Dopamine spikes not when you buy, but when you anticipate. Temu turns shopping into a slot machine, where the lever is your thumb and the payout is emotional stimulation. This is why you keep scrolling even when you don't want anything. The app has detached desire from necessity. You're no longer solving a problem. You're chasing a feeling. And once behavior is driven by feeling instead of function, rational spending is already lost. Price anchoring is the next layer. A product isn't presented as $5. It's framed as $30 crossed out, now $5. Your brain locks onto the higher number first. That becomes the reference point. Compared to that anchor, $5 feels like a win. Neurologically, you experience reward instead of loss. You don't feel like you're spending money. You feel like you're beating the system. This is one of the most corrosive illusions in consumer psychology because it reverses the emotional signal of spending. Loss feels like gain. Over time, this rewires your relationship with money. You stop associating spending with sacrifice. You stop feeling the friction that normally protects you from excess. Money becomes abstract, just numbers moving on a screen. When money stops feeling real, self-regulation collapses. Temu then layers in social proof and identity reinforcement. People like you bought this. Trending now. Recommended for you. These phrases seem harmless, but they perform a subtle psychological operation. They tell you who you are. You are someone who finds deals. Someone who doesn't miss out. Someone who acts fast. Identity is the most powerful driver of behavior. Once an identity is accepted, actions become automatic. You no longer decide. You express who you believe you are. This is where the damage deepens. You're not just buying cheap products. You're rehearsing a version of yourself that is impulsive, reactive, and stimulation-driven. Identity repetition creates habit. Habit creates character. Character determines financial outcomes. The interface itself is designed to exhaust your resistance. bright colors, movement everywhere, notifications, pop-ups, confetti animations. Every element competes for your attention. This cognitive overload depletes mental energy. The brain has a limited capacity for self-control. When it's drained, you default to the easiest option. Buy now. Continue. Accept. Temu doesn't break your will. It waits for it to get tired. This is why people often feel a strange emptiness after using the app. The dopamine spike fades. The items don't arrive for weeks. The excitement evaporates. But the habit remains. So you open the app again, not to buy, but to feel that brief sense of movement, progress, stimulation. The cycle repeats. Another critical mechanism is delayed consequence masking. Small purchases don't trigger alarm systems. $5 doesn't hurt. But wealth is not destroyed by dramatic failures. It is quietly bled through repeated unconscious behavior. Every unnecessary purchase is not just money spent. It's money not invested, not saved, not compounded. Over years, this gap becomes enormous. There is also a psychological recalibration happening beneath the surface. Constant exposure to ultra-cheap goods conditions your brain to devalue patience, craftsmanship, and long-term payoff. When everything is immediate and discounted, waiting feels irrational. Quality feels overpriced. Investing feels slow. You begin to crave speed instead of substance, excitement instead of endurance. This is the opposite of the mindset required to build wealth. Wealth requires boredom tolerance. It requires the ability to do nothing when nothing needs to be done. Temu trains you to fill every quiet moment with stimulation and spending. Silence becomes uncomfortable. Stillness feels like missing out. And when you cannot tolerate stillness, you cannot tolerate long-term thinking. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Temu doesn't care if you're happy. It doesn't care if you're wealthy. It cares that you return, that you scroll, that you react. The platform is optimized for engagement, not outcomes. Your financial health is irrelevant to its business model. In fact, discipline is bad for it. Impulse is profitable. This is why awareness is not optional. Once you see the machinery, the spell weakens. Scarcity loses power when you recognize it as theater. Urgency dissolves when you step away and let your nervous system settle. Dopamine resets when you stop feeding novelty and start valuing stability. Wealthy individuals are not immune to temptation. They are selective about environments. They understand that willpower is a finite resource and design their lives to protect it. They avoid systems built to exploit human weakness. They curate inputs because they understand that attention is the gateway to behavior. Temu is not just an app. It is an environment. And environments shape identity. Prolonged exposure trains reflexes. It normalizes impulsivity. It erodes intentionality. If you want to build wealth, you must be ruthless about what you allow to train your brain. The real luxury is not cheap goods. It is autonomy. The ability to pause, to decide slowly, to walk away without anxiety. When you reclaim your attention, you reclaim your agency. When you stop reacting, you start building. When you stop chasing discounts, you start accumulating value. This is not about never buying anything. It's about restoring conscious choice, about shifting identity from consumer to owner, from reactor to architect. Wealth begins in the mind long before it appears in the account. And the moment you see the manipulation clearly is the moment it starts to lose its grip.